Let's go ahead and take a look at today's objective. Today's objective is we will be able to find the area of a right triangle. So this is a review lesson. We talked about this a while ago, earlier on this year, but we're going to be building on it over the next couple of days. So we're just taking today to review this concept. Just like always, if you're able to print out the lesson, awesome. Otherwise, use that piece of blank paper and fold it into fourths. And remembering our two rules of everyone tracks and everyone tries, so pausing and rewinding when you need to, as well as making sure every single question has an answer. Let's go ahead and get started with our do now. Today's do now says the following. It says, find the area of the triangle shown, and then we have a triangle right here. Notice how it does have our different units there, so 4 centimeters and 4 centimeters. Again, we did this earlier on this year, so just try your best. Make sure you do have some sort of an answer written down inside your Google lesson, and it does need to be a complete sentence. For example, the area of the triangle is blank. Go ahead, pause this and resume the video when you're set and ready to go over the answer. I'll go ahead and pause in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, let's go ahead and talk about how to solve this type of question. So here, I just went ahead and copied a picture copied this picture of the triangle. So again, we're finding the area of this right triangle, and we know it's a right triangle because they tell us right there, and that it's that 90 degrees. So before we go ahead and get started with this, I want you to think about how we can possibly find this. All right. We do have a formula, and we'll talk about that formula in just a minute. But the very first thing I want to show you is that if we just extend these lines right here on the top and the bottom, it's going to end up making a square. So we have a full square here, 90 degrees. We have 4 90-degree angles, and the entire area of this shape. Think about how we would find that. If we're finding the area of a square now, right, we're finding the area of the square, that would be, we just multiply each side, right, because area is the amount of space on the inside of a shape, right? So if we have 4 centimeters times 4 centimeters, that's going to give us 16 centimeters for this whole thing. So that's not our answer, but I'm just going to go ahead and record that down. So the area of the whole square is 16 centimeters. But we're only trying to find what the area of this space is, right? So we're only trying to find half of what this what the area of this square is. If the area of the square is 16 centimeters, that's the whole thing. We want to find what half of that is, just this one part right here. We don't care about this part anymore. So just finding out what is half of 16. Half of 16, so what times 2 gives us 16, would end up being 8 centimeters. Now, notice how we did not just add these together to get that. That would just be a coincidence. That would not actually be our answer. We would turn this into a square or a rectangle, all right, for a triangle. So we turn it into a square or a rectangle, and then we just find out what half of that total area would be. So this is just 8 centimeters. So the area of this triangle is 8 centimeters, and squared. Can't forget our units. We're talking about the amount of squares on the inside of that triangle. Go ahead, copy this work if you need to. In the next 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And let's go ahead and take a look at our next question. We're going to follow the exact same idea, so we'll follow the same steps. For example, 2, it says find the area of the triangle shown, and then we have our triangle right there. One side is 5, looks like miles, so we'll call it miles, 5 miles, and then we have 8 miles on the other side. I want you to go ahead and take your best guess. What shape are we going to turn this into? Go ahead and draw a picture of the shape and find the area of that. Go ahead and pause in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's go ahead and take a look. If we have this question here, we have our shape, and we need to find the area of this shape. So the area of a triangle is just going to be half of whatever the either square or rectangle is going to be. If we look here, we know one side is longer, right, than the other. We have our 8 and we have our 5. So that's actually going to create a rectangle, right, because opposite sides are equal. So here, what would the area of this entire rectangle be? The area of the entire rectangle would just be our 2 sides multiplied together, so 5 times 8. That means the entire area is 40 miles squared. Sorry, I forgot about that squared on that last one as well. Now, of course, though, we only want to find what is half of that 40. So go ahead, take a second and write down what you think the half of the 40 is going to be, but don't forget your units. So it would be miles squared. Go ahead and think about what that's possibly going to be. So thinking about what is half of 40 is just going to give us 20. So our answer is 20 miles squared. Now, just so you guys know, when we're talking about formulas, the area of any kind of rectangle or square, like we talked about, was base times the height. So B and H, base times the height. And we talked about this in class. We just called them different things. We called them length times width. So we're going to start doing, or calling them as base times height. So this would be, we'd have either the base, which is the bottom typically, which can be this right here, that's okay, and then the height, right? So it'd be 5 times 8. But we only want half of that. So our real equation, and we're going to talk more about this later in the next couple of days, is just half of the base times height. So you find half, right, just as 1/2 of our base times height. So you find half of 5 times 8 here, and that would give you 20. You don't need to worry about this part right now. I do just want to mention it because it'll be important over the next couple of days, and we'll be coming back to it. But our answer here was our 20 miles squared. All right. Let's go ahead, get set up for one more question. On this one, you are actually going to solve it on your own, and then you'll resume the video when you're set and ready to check your answer. I highly recommend drawing another copy of this picture. That way you can go ahead and change it as well. You can turn it into a rectangle or square, whatever you think it's going to be. So this one is just find the area of the triangle shown, and we have 3 inches and 6 inches. Go ahead, take this next couple of seconds to pause, and then resume when you're ready. Pausing in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're going to go ahead and just quickly review this. We're not going to be using the formula to find this because we'll be talking more about that over the next couple of days. Again, we're focusing more on just drawing the pictures in order to find our answer. So here I went ahead and drew a copy of our picture. It's okay if it's at a slight angle. It doesn't really matter. You can always turn it around also if that's confusing you too. So that way you have a nice right triangle or right perpendicular angle right in front of you. So I'm going to keep at an angle just because that's how the question was. And we're going to go ahead and just complete the rest of this shape. So here it looks like we have a rectangle. We know that the area of a rectangle is just going to be the base times height, right? So it'd be 3 times 6 for the whole thing. 3 times 6 is going to give us 18 inches squared, right? So again, we're only looking for half of that though. We're only looking for this half. So again, what would half of 18 inches squared be? It would end up being 9 inches squared. Do not forget those units. If you do not write the units, the answer is incorrect. We talked a lot about units this year and why they're so important. So please, if you wrote a 9, it will be graded as incorrect. You do need to write 9 inches squared on there. This is your chance to go ahead. If you need to rewatch the video at any point, pause it, rewind, and go ahead and take a look at those questions again. Make sure you do have the questions that we did go over, the answers written on your lesson as well. You guys know how to get a hold of me. Call me, text me if you need any help. That's what I'm here for, all right? Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.